Yeah, so just like the title says, we're going to talk about voice cloning and why I think it's going to change the way we interact with our systems, computers, and devices. My name is David. I am a AI ML engineer at DigitalOcean. I came from a couple NLP companies, although I have a wide variety of interests, including like IoT, AI ML on edge, so like IoT edge, even creating medical models, and even voice cloning. And prior to that, I was in the Kubernetes and CNCF ecosystems, so working on open source Kubernetes. And then just before that, I was doing backup recovery solutions for virtualized environments, specifically vSphere. So for the agenda today, we're going to talk about voice cloning and why I think it's going to be huge. And we're going to go through exploring some use cases, and this is going to be hopefully going to be entertaining and awesome. I'm going to drive this all by video, and we're going to take a look at some cool videos, hopefully get a laugh, and you also learn something along the way. And then I have this next line, don't just bring it, sing it. So I'm going to talk to you about the journey for cloning my own voice. So I ended up doing that, and I'm going to talk to you about the reasons behind doing it. And then hopefully at the end, we have enough time for some Q&A. So yeah, let's explore the use cases and like why voice cloning is important and when maybe it's not. And so before we talk about voice cloning, we want to maybe take a step back and take a look at what's under the hood, underneath the covers for doing voice cloning. And at the kind of like the core of it, it's effectively just text to speech. And so you basically provide some text, you want to convert that to audio so that you can play back through like a device like a Siri. When you're talking about then voice cloning, I actually previously came from a company that specialized in text to speech. These different companies, different open source offerings, different platforms, they offer a bunch of stock voices that you can pick. Maybe an Australian accent, maybe someone from the US. And it so happens that one of the voices was actually a coworker of mine, and we cloned his voice to be one of the stock voices for the text-to-speech model. And so just kind of like the level set, like what is text-to-speech? I'm just picked a provider, so one that people are familiar with. So OpenAI, they actually have a voice assistant where you can interact and ask it questions and have it reply using a stock voice. And so I'm from Long Beach, California, and I basically just asked OpenAI saying, tell me about Long Beach and its population. And let's go ahead and listen to the audio.
Long Beach, California is a vibrant coastal city known for its waterfront attractions and diverse culture, with a population of over 450,000 people.
So pretty cool, right? Natural sounding, human-like voice. So I'm from Long Beach, like I said. Wouldn't it be cool and wouldn't it be better if we had we use a voice that's more characteristic of like Long Beach and like the city, and no better choice than, in my opinion, to use one of Long Beach's most notable citizens here, Snoop Dogg. So let's go ahead and take a listen to Snoop Dogg tell me about Long Beach.
Hi, it's Big Snoop D-O-double-G. According to Wikipedia, Long Beach is a coastal city in southeastern Los Angeles County, California, with a population of 451,307 as of 2022. Faux shizzle.
So obviously a lot better, right? And kind of the question to ask yourself is, why is this better? And I think the answer to that is, aside from like the entertainment value, Snoop Dogg is like more personable, right? You see him on TV, you've heard his music, you know the way he talks and like his natural intonation and the way he speaks. And so you identify with that, and there's more draw to what he's saying. And I think that's why using human-like sound and cloning your own voice will become a huge thing in the future. So we talked about a really cool voice, Snoop Dogg, telling me about Long Beach. Now let's look at the opposite end of the spectrum, right? So we've all had to call our bank, and we've all had to maybe call tech support or fill a prescription at our pharmacy, and you get that very, very robotic sounding voice. And so I kind of want you to, I'm going to play this video here, which is Triumph the Insult Comic Dog. He's talking to a stormtrooper at this is a very old video, but a classic. He's talking to a stormtrooper at the world premiere of one of the Star Wars reboot movies. And let's go ahead and take a listen to this interaction right here.
I am a stormtrooper.
You are a huge nerd.
You are a hot dog.
The stormtroopers talk like 60s robots? I have no idea. I am a stormtrooper. I was built by Felix the Cat.
So, you know, you have Triumph here, obviously making a whole bunch of jokes. That's kind of his job. He's joking, right? Like, why do you sound like a 60s robot? Like, why do you sound like Felix the Cat? And it kind of goes to the idea like that those robotic sounding voices are actually kind of very off-putting. And so, you know, it's kind of poking fun at it. It's just kind of yet another example of like why like those old robotic voices are like not desirable when interacting with computers, devices, and software. Let's now take a look at probably the worst offending of the robotic voices, right? And that's definitely going to be the robocall. You probably have recently been visited by a robocall, probably in the past 6 months at least, you know, asking for like a campaign contribution for a presidential candidate, right? And you definitely hear the voice and you know that it's like, oh, not again. But here we're going to take a listen to John Oliver here from Last Week Tonight talk about robocalling.
There is a non-bailable arrest warrant issued under your name.
The reason of this call is to inform you that the IRS is filing lawsuit against you.
Oh, it was the pause in that last one that made it a real cliffhanger. I mean, you basically knew where it was going, but there was a tantalizing chance that they were calling people to inform them that the IRS was filing lawsuit against Nicolas Cage, which you assume is always true, but a call to confirm every now and then would be nice.
I love John Oliver. He's like the master class of like sarcasm and, you know, kind of like my personality. The robocall, right? It's robotic. It's horrific. It's like the worst of like robotic type voices. Now we're going to do like a show of hands, a show of virtual hands here, because I can't really see. By a show of virtual hands, let's, if you've ever gotten one of these calls and you heard the first couple of words and you hear that robotic voice, or maybe you don't even hear the voice at all, right? Maybe you hear that long pause just before that robotic voice comes on. So having said all that, what's the first thing you do when you're in that situation? And I can tell you by like a show of virtual hands, my hand is definitely up. In that situation, I just hang up, right? I don't even want to be bothered by a robocall. Now, the question to ask yourself is, what if there was an actual person on the other side of that phone call? What if it was a more human-like sounding voice? And I think now you kind of see the importance of like why that human connection is so important and like why these robotic voices are so distasteful, right? It creates connection and it creates the draw to listen in on that phone call or that talking to that device. And I think that's why you need that connection when you're talking about human-like voices when you're interacting with these systems. Kind of like to bring it back to voice cloning. Voice cloning actually isn't a new thing. It's actually been around for a really long time, decades. And you're probably asking yourself, like, what do you mean, right? And I'm actually talking about the low-tech version of voice cloning. And so let's go ahead and take a listen to this video here.
Keep on hoping we'll be caked by the ocean. Walk for me, baby. I'll be Diddy, you be Naomi. Well, let's lose our minds and go crazy, crazy. I keep on hoping we'll be caked by the ocean.
I love it.
So Simon Cowell from America's Got Talent, right? He's got a distinct voice, and voice cloning has been a thing for a long time. And here's a perfect example of that. this has just been like the low-tech version of doing voice cloning. You had to have a lot of talent, but if you did have the talent and you can copy or imitate someone's voice, you can impersonate that person. So talking about voice cloning and potentially how scary it is, but keep in mind that it's actually been a thing for a while. Now, the difference is it's now a tech thing. And because it's a tech thing, it's more accessible to everyone. And that's where it kind of gets a little scary, right? Where you don't need to have the skill to impersonate someone's voice. You can just throw some data at it and generate a clone of someone's voice. And I think that's kind of like maybe where the apprehension is that it's just much easier to do. But keep in mind again, that it's been around for quite some time. And you go to a comedy club, you see a comedian impersonate another comedian or famous person. Again, it's been around for a really, really long time. Next thing I want to kind of talk about is why would you want to clone your voice? Like, why is voice so important? Like our own voice. And before I switch to the next slide here, I want to talk about how important voice is. And before I switch to this next slide, I'm going to virtually, again, I can't see if you're actually doing it. I want you to close your eyes and I'm going to play a video. And the sound of the voice that you're going to hear, I want you to, think about what's the first thing that you think about and associate to this voice. And that's what I want you to take away from this. Now I'm going to everyone close your eyes virtually. I know I can't see. And I'm going to advance to the next slide and play the video. And you tell me the first thing that comes to your mind associated with this particular voice.
Finally, I can tell you guys, it is me. You're probably sick of my voice. I'm sick of my voice. This is so funny. LOL.
All right. Virtually everyone kind of open your eyes. And if after hearing that voice and like if the first thing that came to your mind was TikTok, you would be absolutely correct. So that voice has become so synonymous with brand that when you hear that voice, you immediately think of TikTok. And having probably at this point billions and billions of TikTok videos, especially during the pandemic when we were all kind of shut in, and you had that voice doing the voiceovers. It literally, our voices are our brands, and voices are so important that it helps you with identity and branding and all sorts of stuff. And that's why I think voice cloning is going to be super crazy important. So I want to talk to you about my journey to clone my own voice. And again, like why I think it matters. So my use case was, as an engineer, I'm lazy, like all engineers are. And that's actually by design. It's a good thing. You want to reuse as much code as you possibly can. And in this case, I give a lot of presentations for work. I have to record a lot of demo videos. And when I have to speak over my videos, I screw up a lot and I have to go back and re-record things. And so my use case for cloning my voice was that I could literally type some text, it generates some audio, and I can literally drop the WAV file right on top of the video and have it come out perfect every single time. So that was my use case. And I kind of like want to just take you through my journey right now of like what that looked like. So here's the first iteration. And I'm going to play this video and you can kind of, now that I've been talking for some time, tell me how much it sounds like me. Hello, my name is David Vonthanen and I live in Long Beach, California. I am an artificial intelligence and machine learning engineer with backgrounds in containers, virtualization, backup recovery solutions, and enterprise storage. That sounds like me, right? And I kind of have like the nice try. It sounds like me, but it's definitely off. And so voice cloning is far more than just sounding like someone. It's also getting the intonation and the way that they have their mannerisms when they speak. So those things are equally important. So here's a different platform I tried, and I went ahead and tried this. And so let's take a listen to this one. Hello, my name is David Vonthanen, and I live in Long Beach, California. I'm an artificial intelligence and machine learning engineer with backgrounds in containers, virtualization, backup recovery solutions, and enterprise storage. A little better. I think it sounds a little more like me, but definitely still having a problem with the intonation and like the delivery, right? The flavor behind the way I speak. And so this particular platform allows you to like increase or decrease the speed. It also allows you to vary certain things like the energy behind you're speaking. And it also has the options for variability. And so the next iteration of this, I sped it up a little bit and I added a little bit more variability and flavor. And this is what it sounded like. Hello, my name is David Vontanen, and I live in Long Beach, California. I'm an artificial intelligence and machine learning engineer with backgrounds in containers, virtualization, backup recovery solutions, and enterprise storage. So that's actually pretty dang good. And like the other thing that's very interesting is by speeding it up a little bit and kind of allowing it to add variability, or like if you want to think about hallucinate a little bit with the way I speak, it actually kind of fixed the pronunciation on my last name, which is super interesting. So this is definitely by far like the second to the best version of my voice clone. And for this last one, instead of just playing a video, I thought I would do a live demo, and hopefully it works this time. But I'm going to do a live demo of my own voice assistant. So basically I cloned my own voice. I'm going to ask it a question. It's going to respond in my own voice, and I'm basically going to talk to myself. And the LLM powering this in the background is the DigitalOcean Gen AI platform. So the Gen AI platform is effectively an easy button to create a RAG agent. So I trained this RAG agent to be a travel agent for Southern California, basically where I live. And so, offer up travel advice on like things to do in my area. And so let's go ahead and switch to that tab. Going to reshare my screen on a different tab. And hopefully everyone can see that. It looks like I have the little box saying that it is being shared. Going to refresh here. Again, I'm going to click the start button, have the microphone listen in. I have an app running in the back end that's offering up this HTML page. It's going to call out to DigitalOcean for this RAG agent that's a virtual travel agent, and it's going to respond in my own voice. I just thought it was silly, so why not? And here we go. Computer, what's there to do in Long Beach, California? Long Beach offers attractions like the Queen Mary, Aquarium of the Pacific, and beaches. Visitors can also enjoy shopping, dining, and live music in the downtown area, as well as water sports and activities like kayaking and sailing. So pretty cool. Yeah, I think this version, so this last voice is the last one I kind of came up with that said, hey, like I think this one really, really, really sounds like me. And it was basically trained on roughly about 3 hours worth of my own voice data. And so, yeah, I think it's pretty cool, right? Create a virtual voice assistant where you can talk to yourself. So let me go back to the presentation here. So voice cloning, like what matters? Human sounding voice is important. The reason why is you have that human connection, like it's engaging. And at the very least, it's not off-putting, right? Because it's more human-like, it's not robotic sounding. Like when I think good voice cloning is important, like, why you, like, what are the use cases that describe like what voice cloning would be really good for? So they'd be like content creators, influencers. So people looking to, do voiceovers on their videos without actually having to do them. Obviously branding matters, right? If you are, you have a particular brand, maybe you have a podcast, maybe you use your cloned voice in certain areas, right? And then my use case was kind of like automating myself, right? Creating my own videos, for video demos, and then using my voiceover to like lay on top of those videos for production purposes. And kind of the ultimate takeaway, I think, from this is like, you know, human-like intonation and speech patterns are absolutely required. So it's everything from pausing to emphasizing the right things, pitch, speed, and they're all important. And I think the reason why it's important is, especially in my particular use case, if you're going to be talking, especially if you have, you know, the talking head in the corner where you're, you know, talking about a particular demo, and then your head disappears and you do one of these voiceovers, if it's not exact or pretty dang close, your audience is going to know the difference, and it's going to sound weird. And so all of those things, and that's the reason why like all of that's important, and why it really, really kind of needs to sound like you. So here's some resources. So everything you saw in this demo, I have right here. If you're interested in duplicating the voice AI assistant, you can click the top link here. Obviously, you need to clone your own voice, or you can use a stock voice for your own purposes. But you have the code there in Python in GitHub. Click the link to get it. If you're interested in the DigitalOcean Gen AI platform, click the link. You can create, effectively, it's an easy button, create a RAG agent. Upload all your data, which was, in my case, was travel advice in Long Beach and Los Angeles. Click a few buttons, it does the embeddings and pops an agent on the other side. And then here's all of the open source and different voice platforms I played around with and use as, you know, videos in this demo or videos in this presentation. So everything from NVIDIA Nemo to F5 TTS, Play HT 11 Labs, and the whole bunch. And that is it. Looks like I have enough time for some questions.